Welcome to Just Break Up, the podcast about love, heartbreak, and all the relationship advice you don't want to hear. My name is Sierra DeMulder.
And I'm Sam Blackwell. And today we're going to answer a letter from somebody who has an exciting and very challenging self-awakening. But before we begin, we just want to give you our Surgeon General's warning, which is that Sierra and I are not licensed mental health practitioners.
No, we're not. We're not professionals. We're not trained in this. So please take our advice as you see fit. We are only here to offer our humble musings to hopefully shed some understanding and maybe some laughs about the incredibly rewarding but mostly confusing experience that is love. And here's another reason why you shouldn't trust us. I'm about to use an AI robot to figure out what relationship advice is.
Yeah, I'm so excited.
We're turning into a robot.
These robots are going to take our jobs as podcasters. So this is just a dipping a toe into that reality.
Yeah, haha, funny, but also very real.
Horrifying.
So yeah, for this morning's check-in topic, because it is a Monday, we are going to play around with the ChatGPT AI prompting robot, because actually a dozen people have sent me this idea because of how hysterical it is to ask a robot to be like an empathetic, affirming podcast host, but also like how eerily spot on it is, because it's probably going to be like, boundaries are your best friend. Da, 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 da.
Absolutely. Yep. The best relationship you have is the one with yourself.
Yeah, we literally just said that on like an ad. Okay, so
that ad turns out written by a robot. Just kidding, it was not. It was written by a human that we paid.
Yes. Okay, so all caveats, included on this check-in topic that like AI is terrifying, particularly for creative people.
Yep.
And let's take advantage of it. Okay, so what are we going to prompt it? We're going to say, okay, speak like how are we going to describe it? Empathetic relationship advice podcast host answering a question about what, Sam?
About a woman who is catfishing her husband on Grindr.
I knew you were going to go there. And if you were watching me on the YouTube video, friends, subscribe on our YouTube.
She was shaking her head. She did not want me to say it. But that's because that is whenever anyone that I talk to about the podcast is like, what is the most memorable letter that you have? Yes. The one that comes to mind immediately is the one about the woman who found out that her husband was on Grindr and then created a profile and was like chatting with him on there.
Yeah, that was intense. Okay, here's the question. Speak like an empathetic relationship advice podcast host, answering a listener's question about a woman catfishing her own husband on Grindr. Anything else I need to add to that?
End the podcast with an affirmation.
Yeah, affirming. Give affirming advice. There we go. Affirming advice as an empathetic relationship advice podcast host, answering a listener's question about a woman catfishing from a woman. There we go. Sorry, working it out on air. From a woman catfishing her own husband on Grindr. Here we go. ChatGPT. It's thinking, it's processing. It's like wait a minute. Wow, humans are crazy. Oh my God. I can't. Oh my God. Here it goes. Okay. First, host. Hello, wonderful listeners, and welcome back to another episode of Empathetic Connections, your safe space for relationship advice, empathy, and understanding. I'm your host, parentheses, host name. And today we have a heartfelt question from one of our listeners. Remember, we value honesty, empathy, and respect here, so let's dive right in. This bitch took my...
Oh my God. ChatGPT is coming for our jobs, that's for sure.
Okay. Listener question read by the host. Dear Your Name, I'm a woman. And I've been catfishing my own husband on Grindr. I know it sounds terrible, But I couldn't help feeling insecure about a relationship. He's always on the app, and it makes me question his loyalty.
Yeah, that makes sense, babe.
And I just wanted to see if he'd fall for someone else. How can I address my feelings and fix this mess I've created? Host. First and foremost, thank you for reaching out to us with your heartfelt question.
Do you think that GPT knows what Grindr is?
Let's ask it. Do you know? It has to. Do you know what Grindr is? I don't have any personal experience. And their training data leads up to September 2021. But as of my last update, Grindr is a social networking and a dating app designed for gay, lesbian, trans, and queer individuals. Blah, blah, blah. And then it explains it. So yes, it does. Okay, here we go.
I don't think it's really like a social media app, but that's fine. It's a hookup app.
So blah, blah, blah. It's essential to approach this situation with empathy and understanding. You're not alone in feeling insecure or anxious about your relationship. Many of us have experienced these emotions from time to time. Okay, robot. Okay. However, here's where it cuts deep. It's essential to recognize that catfishing your partner is not a healthy or sustainable way to address these feelings. In fact, it can further damage trust and create an even more significant challenge in your relationship. The key here is open and honest communication. And then it lists 8 steps for open and honest communication.
Steps?
Yeah. I'm not going to read them all because it's like... Yeah, it definitely is because it's like, 1, choose the right time and place. Find a calm and private moment to talk to your husband, about his Grindr activity, your catfished profile. Yep. Anyway, and then it ends by saying, there's an outro. Ends by saying... remember, relationships are built on trust, respect, understanding. Yeah, we're sending you all the positive vibes on this journey of healing and growth. Okay, back off. It asks for listeners to share advice or experiences in the comments. Let's support each other, nurturing our healthy relationships. And then the podcast outro music is in parentheses and it says, host, thank you for tuning into Empathetic Connections. Remember, you can always send us your questions or topics you'd like us to cover in future episodes. Until next time, take care, be kind to yourself and others, and keep spreading empathy in all your relationships. Goodbye.
Okay. All right.
All right. Any other questions you want to ask it? I wanted to know, I guess 2000. Yeah.
No, I feel like it just
talk.
It speaks to the fact that
host of Just Break Up podcast.
Oh wow, specifically.
Yeah, I want to be dragged to hell.
No, but the fact that the Chat GPT doesn't understand what Grindr is and what Grindr is used for, I think speaks to the fact that it's there's inherent bias built into AI because it doesn't know anything about queer people or queer culture, right? It's just this is a social media website for LGBTQ people. And it's no, it's definitely not. It's a hookup site for gay men. It's not an inclusive, wonderful LGBTQ space. It's literally for gay men to find other gay men to have sex with.
Mm-hmm. So, I asked it to talk like us. That was a great and intelligent question. And I'm over here, make a fart noise, or commentary. I mean, but I asked it to talk like a host of our podcast. And it said the intro would be, hey there, lovely listeners. Welcome back to another episode of Just Break Up, the podcast where we explore the highs, lows, and everything in between of relationships and breakups. Remember, breaking up doesn't mean we're broken. It's just a journey of growth and self-discovery. Let's see. One more question. Let's see. Chat GPT. How would you break up with somebody? Get over heartbreak? What do we want to know? What do the people want to know? What's another letter that we can think of? Or
how do I know if I'm bisexual?
Oh my God, perfect.
The number one letter we get.
Do I know if I am bisexual robot? How do I know if I'm bisexual, comma, robot, question mark? Here we go.
Perfect.
It's thinking, it's processing all its queer data. Discovering and understanding your sexual orientation, such as being bisexual, is a personal and sometimes complex journey. There's another list here. Man, 8's like their magic number. It says self-reflection, research and education. Give yourself time. Don't feel rushed to figure things out. Talk to supportive people. Seek community. Explore relationships if you feel ready and comfortable. Start exploring those things. Be open-minded and consult a professional.
Oh.
Yeah, and then it ends with an exclamation point. Sexual orientation is about who you are attracted to emotionally and or physically. It's normal to have questions and uncertainties along the way. Embrace your journey with self-compassion. And remember that understanding your sexual orientation is a process that unfolds over time. The most important thing is to be true to yourself and honor your feelings and attractions. You are valid, comma, just as you are, exclamation point, robot out.
Cute. That was fine.
Yeah. Anyway, that was me and Sam's fun little jaunt into the robot world in which I will never return. At least not willingly.
When all of that ChatGPT stuff came out, it was like the New York Times had all these articles about like, can you tell ChatGPT from an 8-year-old? And every time I was like, yes, I know what an 8-year-old sounds like, and I know what a robot sounds like. They're very different things.
Was it like a quiz? Was it like a BuzzFeed quiz?
Yeah, it literally was like, they would like present you with language and be like, was this written by an 8-year-old or was it written by ChatGPT? And it was like,
funny.
I don't know. I probably have like a bias about this, but like so much of the stuff that like comes out of ChatGPT, I'm like, a robot wrote this. Like an actual human did not write this.
It's very obvious. It's very obvious. Okay. Spoiler alert, I've been a robot this whole time, so.
Wouldn't that be fun? What if we were just like really advanced AI and we didn't actually exist in real life?
How do we know we aren't? You're like, because I'm a human who's bleeding.
Yeah, but we might be in a simulation, so.
Yeah. Okay, anyway, we are totally sober right now, and we're going to get into today's letter.
All right, let's do it. This letter comes from Rachel Long, whose pronouns are she, her, who's writing from New Zealand. Hey guys, I love your podcast. I couldn't see if you've had a similar story to mine aired on your pod, but basically I'm a 30-year-old woman, she, her, in a hetero passing marriage to my husband, he, him, for the past 4 years, but we've been together for 11 years. I've always thought of myself as bi since I've been attracted to girls since I was 12, but never held much weight to these thoughts. I guess some internalized biphobia played a part, and being in a very straight, popular friend group, I never let myself explore these feelings. I loved validation from boys and slept with and dated many before meeting my now husband at 19. He is textbook so kind, loving, smart, loyal, considerate, the list goes on. Basically, everyone loves him, including my family right from the start. I came out to him as bi at 24 when I had a huge crush on a girl I played footy with who was in a relationship anyway. And all he really said was, well, we could maybe have a threesome. Not what I wanted. At the time, we had already bought a house, and because he was so perfect, all my friends were in long-term relationships, I just felt it'd be crazy to let him go to explore my sexuality. So I stuffed all these thoughts back down. We got married, which felt like the right thing to do, and I wanted to do that at the time. But looking back, I don't think I really thought about the meaning of marriage and just went with it as a tick box of life, and all my friends were getting married. I was also hell-bent on having a kid by 28 or 29. Anyway, we moved cities for his work, and I made some new friends and joined a footy team. You can probably guess what happened next. I met a girl, and all the feelings I shoved down came right back up. Not proud of this, but I ended up making out with her a few times and then told my husband. He was rightfully upset, but then I guess with his hands tied, gave me permission to sleep with her, as I said I felt I needed to. To be honest, I was desperate to. Once I slept with her, it's like my brain exploded. I just knew I was gay. I couldn't couldn't stop seeing her, which he knew, and my marriage ruptured. After a few weeks, I had overwhelming guilt and broke things off with her, which was so hard, but I needed to gain some clarity on the situation as I was in such a love bubble. We've had therapy individually and as a couple since. I've unpacked a lot. He still wants us to work out, even though I think I'm gay or possibly bi, leaning heavily toward women. We've never had a good sex life, as I was never that into it, and I think I realize why now. But I can't help but feel like because he's so great that we could just crack on with our marriage and have kids. I just feel crazy for leaving someone so great because I think I'm gay. Also, the judgment surrounding that and guilt/shame is all consuming. But women are always on my mind now, and the thought of dating a woman and feeling truly fulfilled. But maybe I'm just self-sabotaging my life, or maybe I'm bored and just wanted something new or exciting. It's so complicated. Should I leave him to find myself and live more authentically, or am I just having a 30-year-old crisis?
All right, my darling. Thank you so much for writing and trusting us with this very tender letter. I just want to give you a big hug and remind you that there's a lot going on here, to be with someone for 11 years, to be suppressing parts of yourself that you now get to explore. There's so much more weighing in this situation than just like, do I get what I want or not? Do I stay with this person or not? There's a lot. So be easy on yourself, be understanding. Sam and I will give you maybe some helpful perspective and some reminders to carry with you in the months ahead. But first, we're going to take a very quick break.
All right, everyone. Welcome back. Thank you again for writing and for trusting us with this question. I'm sorry that you are sitting in this mess of complicated feelings, thoughts, emotions, all of the different things that are coming at you in this moment. And I'm also so excited for you that you have come into this new understanding of yourself, right? And often new understandings of ourselves come with a lot of problems that come along with it, right? Because what we're doing is we're taking the structure that we've built around ourselves that others have maybe built around us as well and saying like, oh, actually this doesn't fit anymore. And sometimes that can be like an amazing awakening where we sort of break through into something beautiful and wonderful and it's like amazing. And sometimes it feels like a building is collapsing around us, right? Because suddenly the foundation isn't what we thought it was and things are falling down. And it sounds like this is a falling down moment, right? Where you are in this relationship with what sounds like a really wonderful human. I mean, he sounds like a great person that you love really dearly, but also now recognizing that like the relationship that you currently have isn't fulfilling for you in the way that you need it to be. Yeah. And I want to say, I know that you're sort of in this place where you're like, why would I throw away, 11 years with this person just because I think that I'm gay? And I want to just say that I have many people in my life who have thrown away long-term relationships with somebody because they understood themselves differently. And I say that in a way of like understanding themselves differently in terms of like what they want to make them happy, which may not be the relationship that they're in. But also like I have a number of friends who were, dating people of one gender or married to people of one gender and then realized like this isn't actually working for me and have come out and gotten divorced and all of these different things. And of course it's a challenge, right? I'm not trying to say like, oh, it's just easy, just break up, like it's going to be fine. But I do want to say that like there are many people who have walked similar paths before you. And I don't look at those people and think like, wow, they threw away a good relationship because of whatever. But instead I'm like, oh, how wonderful that they've come into a new understanding of themselves and how challenging it must have been to have to do that while also sort of breaking out of a mold that wasn't fitting them anymore.
Exactly. And I want to also, look at the phrase that Sam pulled from your letter, like throw away your relationship. We like to think that our relationships or the things that happen in our lives or the things that end because of the choices we make we like to think of them as collateral damage, to our own selfish choices, right? We are not quite that important, relationships, jokes aside, like relationships end for all sorts of different complicated, nuanced, and multifaceted reasons. If your relationship, your happy marriage of 11 years, your partnership of 11 years ends because you need it to end for you to pursue a more authentic, happy life. That's not you throwing it away. That is it coming to its natural end, despite the fact that your husband might not want it to end.
For sure.
You know, I think that's really hard for us to claim that, like, we would rather self-sacrifice and keep something alive that is no longer nutritious to us.
Yeah.
And guess what? There are going to be people, your husband might be one of them. There are going to be people who do see your relationship as collateral damage to your own growth. But that, I just want to like normalize that. I'm not normalizing people being selfish or hurtful or whatever, but like our choices will always have a ripple effect. You know, our choices will always affect other things. Does that mean they are inherently unhealthy or selfish? No, we just literally impact other people with our choices, period. That is unavoidable. And if we're trying to not impact other people with our own growth, we will never grow, right? We would just never grow. And so relieve yourself of that pressure right there.
For sure. And I mean, look at the ways in which you were not growing because you were doing so much self-sacrificing in the course of this 11-year relationship, right? And the way that you described the relationship is just like quintessential compulsory heterosexuality, right? Like it was a quintessential relationship escalator. It was like, yeah, I found this guy who was like, you know, I never thought about dating women. And then I was like in a relationship with a man and I was like, great. So this is what it's going to be. And we're going to get on this relationship escalator. I need to get married so that I can have kids and all my friends are doing it, right? Like this sort of way that we get kind of swept up in these narratives about the world and these narratives that impact our understanding of ourselves. And you tamped down, like you even used the word, like I tamped it down, right? You tamped down those things that were trying to tell you that this wasn't working for you and you didn't grow because of it. And now like things have exploded, which is great, right? Like I think that they needed to explode. And now this growth is happening, but it's not the growth that's causing the fracture of the relationship. It's the fact that this relationship never really fit you. That's the issue here. And you've been shoehorning yourself into a position that hasn't actually been helpful. And now you're like, my muscles are sore. I've been in this position too long. I need to more space. I need to be able to fit in something that's more comfortable for me. And the rigidity of that is now fracturing because it's not equipped, it's not ready, it's not able to handle the fact that you are now trying to take up more space. You're now trying to get more comfortable in this relationship.
That's a great metaphor about like contorting yourself and your muscles can't fit there anymore. And listen, we are the first people to villainize our own growth. We're the first people to say like, oh, I just am so selfish for doing this, or I'm hurting people, or I should just tamp this down some more. And that makes sense. Like we're told from every different direction that our prerogative on earth is to not hurt other people. And I'm not a sociopath. I don't like hurting people. In fact, I go to great self-sacrificing lengths to avoid it. I'm just at the place in my life where I understand now that it is unavoidable. It's unavoidable. And that is not to diminish your marriage. That's not to diminish your husband's suffering. But listen, you have every right to separate from your husband because you are unhappy. That is your human right, whether or not you're gay, whether or not you're bisexual, whether or not you're bored, right? Like I don't care. I don't actually care of the quote validity of your sexuality. You know, I don't care who you end up sleeping with after you leave your husband. I don't need you to prove a certain gayness in order to justify you leaving a relationship you are just generally unhappy with. I do want to speak really quickly to like leaving someone that you love, leaving someone that you think is wonderful, you know, that's like a certain type of confusing and painful. But again, you know, it sounds like if you gave yourself permission to speak freely, to feel freely, and it was just you, me, and Sam sitting in a room like a safe little bubble, you would say, I really want to explore. I really want to feel what I'm feeling with this woman more often. I don't feel it with my husband anymore. I never really felt it with him. You know, like, I just want to give you permission to say, I don't want to be here anymore. And it's sad. And it's worth grieving, and it is owed all of the respect in the world because I know this person is important to you. But you have every right to say, I'm not myself here anymore, and I can't become more myself here. Like I said in the beginning, I said that this is like a multifaceted, complicated thing, and it really is. You know, this is your friend, your partner of 11 years. That's a long time. Everybody likes him. There's heteronormativity out there. You wouldn't just be separating. You would be coming out essentially to your friends and family. And there's a lot going on there. So this is another, take another permission cookie to be unsure of what you want to do, to take your time, to not tell people why you're separating or why you get a divorce or whatnot. Be compassionate to yourself right now, but be honest and clear and as communicative as you can with your husband, because you are not preventing his suffering by keeping him in any gray area.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Absolutely. And just remember what ChatGPT said. You are valid, whatever you are. So,
thanks for bringing it back to that.
Yeah, absolutely. No, which is all to say that, like, I know that it feels uncomfortable because your husband wants to continue working on this relationship, right? Like, wants to stay together. But he's not the only one who gets to decide that, right? He's not the one who gets to say, we're going to stick to this thing. And you honestly don't owe that to him, right? It is not something that he deserves or is entitled to just because he's kind, just because he's treated you well. And so whatever reason you're feeling in this, and it sounds like you've got a bunch of good reasons for feeling like this relationship isn't fulfilling you anymore. It is okay. Kind people get broken up with, right? Kind people go through divorces, and absolutely it sucks when we see people that we love going through something that is like causing them pain. And sometimes that pain is necessary because, like Sierra said, living in this relationship where you're not fully understanding yourself, where you're unhappy, where you're not getting what you need, is not actually helpful for him. Making yourself teeny tiny, fitting into the mold that he wants you to, doesn't actually help your relationship, because then he's not with someone who loves him, who wants to be with him, who is showing up authentically in the way that they want to in this relationship. He's dating someone who is making themselves small to fit into what he would like them to be. And my guess is that at the end of the day, that's not what he wants either, right? And he probably wants someone who's going to want to be with him enthusiastically and for him, and not just because things are comfortable or because all of your friends and family like him so much.
Definitely. All right, my darling, we know that this is really tricky, but we hope that you at least feel a little bit more self-assured that this is not an uncommon journey. This is an absolutely reasonable one, albeit obviously very difficult. And know that Sam and I are really happy for you on this journey, that ultimately this journey is a beautiful one, despite it being challenging at times. And we hope that this helps.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for writing.
We love you.
All right, everyone. Thank you so much for listening. If you are interested in ad-free episodes or you're interested in more content from us, you can always support us on Patreon. If you support us on Patreon for as little as $5 a month, you'll get an additional bonus weekly episode, as well as access to our primary episodes without ads. That's patreon.com/justbreakuppod.
You can slide into our DMs, send us your favorite relationship meme, but most importantly, you can submit your questions about all matters of the heart at justbreakuppod.com, which is also where you can find our merchandise.
Please remember to like, follow, subscribe, give us a 5-star rating and review. This literally keeps our mics on and helps us reach more brokenhearted souls who need 2 random strangers giving them relationship advice.
Just Break Up is a production of Duvid Media, original music, recording, editing, producing, all magical things by our good friend Spencer Worth Davis. Make sure to check out his music and podcasts. And remember, it's okay to not be fully sure what the right answer is. We expect ourselves to be 100% confident in our choices, and sometimes life just doesn't give that to us. It's okay to not know. It's okay to let the knowing unfold as you move forward. And if all else fails,
just break up.